Welcome to the Resilience Project podcast, where we forge bulletproof, resilient minds and bodies for struggling dads, empowering men to triumph over life's toughest challenges. And I'm thrilled to have you join us as we dive into the conversations, especially relevant to tradies, apprentices, and anyone in the trades industry. Today, I'm joined by Zead, and Zead, who is going to bring us a perspective on some of the challenges faced by tradesmen today. We're talking about everything from how technology is impacting the new generation of apprentices to mental health challenges, perhaps maybe like PTSD, but surely anxiety in the workplace. Now, we'll also explore what it's actually like to start in a trade at a young age, the pressure of earning good money early in life, and how to create a positive start, your day shifting from stress to success, perhaps with simple habits like meditation and fitness. So, if you're a tradie, an apprentice, or even someone looking to better understand the mindset and struggles of those in the trade industry, this episode is for you. Ziad, thank you very much for joining us today. I'm excited to hear your insights. How are you feeling about your first podcast?
Hello, Abdul. I'm feeling quite good, and at the same time nervous. So definitely, as this is my first one, I've been posting on just my social media, but this is my first proper post with
Mhm.
yourself, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do this, and I'm excited. So we'll see how it goes.
Fantastic, fantastic. I think it's always kind of on the edge between the thrill and maybe a bit anxious for the first time to be on any podcast. It reminds me of myself when I first began to become more and more involved in public speaking. But that's normal, that's natural. Look, you're doing great, you're doing amazing. You want to share a little bit about yourself with our audience today?
Yes, I do. What I would like to share is I basically started my trade at 15 years old, started my business at 19 years old. So I've
Mhm.
been in the industry for 25 years. During that 25 years and 21 years of running a business, I've had many employees. I would say probably close to 50 employees come and go through the duration. I've had three business partners, and during that whole process, we were flipping homes and at the same time trying to grow an organization. And I was also during that process, I was sued. I nearly lost everything. We had a work accident that really took affected a young apprentice, an electrician that nearly died on a site. So throughout these uh, experiences of running a business, I have had some mental breakdowns throughout that journey. My first basically anxiety and panic attack probably occurred around the 21 years old from memory. And I've been fortunate to reach out and have a psychologist that has been with me for 20 years. So that has been absolutely fantastic. But during that duration, I have had probably overall four major breakdowns, which as we dig in, I'll probably explain why these happened. I'm at the point of my life now where I can reflect. I was never able to reflect because I was always on a go, and not working out why is this occurring to me. But this year, with my last breakdown 9 months ago, or actually 12 months ago now, I thought I'm going to take a break, and I started to look within and start to acknowledge why is this occurring. And now and with these posts that I've been posting, I'm starting to realize there's a pattern here that occurs. And what I'm hoping to do is, if I can be an assistance for anyone that's thinking of starting their business in the trade industry, if I can assist in any way with my experiences, then that's what my platform I would like it to become. So I've called myself the anxious tradie, And I'm hoping as the years go on, I would morph myself into the conscious tradie. But at the moment, I'm still the anxious tradie, and that's where I'm at. And that's a small, brief introduction of myself.
That's amazing. That's amazing. One thing that stood out to me, Zead, is that you basically addressed this pain after acknowledging, because the most challenging phase is for one to acknowledge that there is pain, and you did that. The reason why you seek the support and the help that you needed in order for you to move in that forward direction and transition to where you are now. So what message would you have? I mean, but before we actually go there, as a tradie and with years of experience that you've had as a tradie, and the anxiety and the pressure and the challenges that you've experienced, is that solely because of the trade that you were in, or in the business that you were involved in?
Yes and no. So
Mm,
basically, what I've, I've, I've broken it down. So I come from a family that suffer from anxiety.
mm,
Now, at 15, I never had anxiety. At 16, I never had anxiety. 17, 18. Now, when I was 18 years old, so I was a second year transitioning to a third year, I was fortunate enough to run a job, a big job. My boss gave me the opportunity to run 14 units and 4 shops, and I was still an apprentice. So now I'm layering some stress levels, right? But no one taught me how to deal with these stress levels. And back in those days, we never had mental health. Nothing was raised. So I never knew the shift and the changes that my body was doing. But at the same time, I was a very outgoing guy. Now, when I say I was an outgoing guy, I constantly went out after work with my friends, and I always had to be busy. Now, looking now with my son, where that busyness and that constant go, 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 I realized I had ADHD, right? That has been cemented in my mind now that I had this issue from a young age, but it was never diagnosed back then. All they thought I was a highly active child that at the time I actually thought that I was dyslexic in a way, but my attention, so prior to my trade, my attention in school was a struggle. So I never saw myself going in the future down the path of a corporate world. So that's why the construction world was great. So at 15 years old, I was learning and realized I'm actually not silly. I'm not stupid. I've got the ability to do things. And my boss recognized that. So very quickly, I just sponged all this up because I found what I loved. And once I loved what I did, my ADHD, which was active, I could just work, and do it. But not what I didn't realize is I was slowly burning myself out at a young age because I was playing rugby league. I was going out with my friends because my friends are still in school. So I was trying to keep the party life out. I started drinking, I started partying, and I'm working a lot. So when you add all these on, that for me was just being busy was good. So I was never sitting with my own mind. No one taught me to relax, unwind,
mm.
take the weekend to relax your body, reboot yourself. That wasn't. It was always go, 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 go. So then by the time I had a work accident as well, I think when I took 2 to 3 weeks off from the work accident, I developed a high anxiety because now there was no more go, go, go. So that was my first time I was with myself. So when I was with myself, it was basically my body all catching up, and now depression started to creep in because I was go, go, go before, where now I'm with my thoughts. Now, I've never really been with my thoughts at that age. So it was very overwhelming for me. I actually struggled to be with my thoughts. So during that process, I didn't know what was going in. So lucky workers comp, through the workers comp process, they linked me up with psychologists and psychiatrists. But the first psychiatrist and psychologist I did not gel with at all. But I was so blessed that I met a lady called Aphrodite, and she was at my same wavelength. And when I say my wavelength is, I'm not a religious person. We never really came from a religious background. I am a Muslim, but we never practiced Islam. But what I was I was a spiritual person. So she was a spiritual person, and I was. So we gelled quite nicely. And then she started to teach me a few things while I was now going out on my own too. So in this process, I left my boss. So now I started my business. So now I'm throwing more anxiety, the unknown, right? But it's exciting. But also there's an unknown factor now. So as all these changes were escalating so quickly at the age of 19, I didn't know how to deal with it. So fortunate I had the psychologist teaching me how to deal with it. Because I didn't know how to deal with it, what I went now into a mode. Now my anxiety levels are really high up there now. So what mode do I go into? I'm still going to work. I'm struggling to go to work because I'm anxious. But what mode do I go into? I go into the blame game. So who do I blame? I blame my family. I blame my mum and dad. I blamed my mum for giving me anxiety because my mum was an anxious person. Not so much my dad. Then I blamed my dad for giving me the work ethics, right? So I'm looking at now at things at a negative perspective instead of a positive perspective because that's the easiest thing I knew how to do at that time. So I've got this problem. I was over here. Now I am collapsing. And when I say I'm collapsing, my mental health is declining rapidly. But at the same time, I'm trying to train it, educate it, and learn with this psychologist and with experiences. So now I had to cut out my friends because my friends were quite toxic in that time. So I'm cutting out things, which now gives me more time to sit with myself. So I'm even struggling even more now. So once I found peace and the psychologist gave me peace to understand that your parents came from a war-torn country. They did the best they could do. And then I released that anger. I was humble with what they gave me, the opportunity they gave me. Now I'm recovering now. Now I'm at peace. Now I've got gratitude. So now I'm in a better place. So as I become in a better place, I start to ramp it up very quickly. So now what do? I employ someone. So I'm around about 20, 21. Now I've employed my first person. So now I'm layering, because I'm bettering myself, I think I can take on more things, more the world, right? Which really I should have gradually did that. Worked on myself, got grounded with myself first, but I didn't because I thought I'm busy. I want to get busier. I want to make more money. So I need a hand. So I employed one person. And then other events occurred. And then I got into a partnership. So now I'm layering. Now the anxiety is masked up with now being busy and making money.
Mm.
So that's where I'm at around 21, 22. And then I get my first partner. So now I've got a first partner. We've got another tradesman. So my first partner was my actual first initial boss. So he was like my mentor. So I looked up to him. I thought this is great because I need the experience. I'm still not experienced enough. So long story short was the pattern was I worked a lot. I masked the anxiety, but the anxiety and the ADHD and the panic attacks come out during my duration of the 25 years in the trade. So if I had to go back to the young me, and that's what I try to say to some of my contractors, which are younger or apprentices, just slow down. This is a long journey. You know, don't throw 40 kilo bags on your shoulders and think you're a hero, because I did it. You know, we had 40 kilo bags back in those days. Now it's all 20 kilos, but we didn't do 40 kilos. We throw 40 kilos on one shoulder and another 40. So you got 80 kilos because you want to show that you're a macho man. Now, I'm 41 years old. I've got back pain. I've got knee pain. So I want to be the person that these young generation that want to get in the trade. The trade has been the best thing I've ever done, ever. But I want them to understand that when you start off, there's a financial aspect that you have to be prepared for. There's a
Mm.
family aspect that you have to be prepared for, and then there's a mental health and body and mind aspect that you need to understand, and then you go for it. Now, I never had that, so that's what I'm trying to create, and I appreciate you giving me the platform to share and to reach out to other tradies that if they want any advice, all I can give you is experience, right? But I do have a lot of tickets underneath me, and I've done a lot of jobs, and I've taken on a lot of jobs. So that's the only thing I can give. I never went to university or anything like that. That's hopefully down the track. But at this present moment, that's all I can give you is my experience and my wisdom. And that's what I'm trying to share today.
Amazing, amazing. You know what, Ziad, is that you've actually have highlighted so many crucial points, highlighted so many points of significance that we can actually discuss on. But I want to actually go back to one particular point that you actually pointed out. And that is basically forgetting or not knowing the importance of working on oneself from the inside rather than masking our pain with external environmental factors, whether that is wealth, materials, work, business, from any particular aspect from the external. And the reason why I mention this because it's so common. It's common is because when struggling men are confronted with life's adversities or challenges, is that they see external environmental factors, especially the materials of the world. That I need to have the latest gadget, the latest fashion, latest best cars. I need to make more money, more wealth. Thinking, believing that this will answer the problems with with problems I'm having, anxiety, stress, PTSD, and the list can goes on and on and on. Now, there is some truth to that, but the only truth is that you feel good, but for short term,
Mm,
because we are not addressing the pain. We are going around the pain and not addressing it to its core. So therefore, one of the biggest mistakes, if not the biggest mistake, is that many struggling men are masking their
mm.
problems, their issues, not only with materials like wealth and gadgets and so on, but even with the abusive intake of alcohol and drugs, for instance, that leads them to a very, very dark place. And what
Even,
will
even
act?
sorry to interrupt, even work.
Yes,
I
mm,
master it by working more. The less,
exactly.
the more I work, that means there was less time for me to be with my mind and myself.
Mm.
So even work, people don't realize they're masking something by working more and more. Sorry.
No, and you're absolutely right. And that is a common tool that a lot of struggling men use.
Mm,
I need to go to work because I need to keep my mind busy.
mm,
So what they're doing, they're masking the problems. There is
that's
a
right.
pain that they are living with that they have not yet not only addressed, because before they can address the pain, don't they need first to admit to themselves that there is pain, acknowledge it first? Absolutely. So they don't want to acknowledge the pain because whether it's because that it's a feeling of shame or the feeling of the man ego or I'll be okay. I'm strong enough to deal with it alone and so on and so forth.
mm,
So that there's a problem with addressing the pain. There is a problem with admitting there is pain because no challenge, adversities, life crisis can be addressed and cured with the materials. We need to first to address the pain from within. There's something happening in here in the mind. There's a struggle. There is a pain, as you mentioned before. You grew up with, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, with life challenges of anxiety,
mm,
stress,
mm,
and it was carried on to you
mm,
by past generations, which I can relate to. My father as well, when he first came to this country, he came from a torn, worn country as well, and that baggage that they bring across, is that they pass on to the next generation,
mm,
and someone needs to break that chain. Now you're breaking that chain, so have I. This is
yeah.
why we're here today. Um, and with this baggage, it's not because they're doing it out of because they're cruel. It's because they care. It's because they love their family. Believing the tools that they have, it's going to fix the problems. Not knowing is that this is only going to intensify the pain into the next new generation.
Mm,
So what's important here is that I'm I'm highlighting the point is that to all the struggling men out there who are listening, is that stop masking your
mm,
pain with the external environmental factors, whether it's wealth, whether it's work, whether it's a fashion, whatever it might be. Begin to address the pain within. There's a pain inside, there's a blockage from the inside. Begin to break that chain, to unwire it, and to rewire the program that we are living with that causes us to feel that pain. Let's chop off the head of a snake, chop off
exactly.
the head of the snake, which means let's go straight back to the root of the problems to address the pain. Yeah, no, I can go on and on about this, but yeah, I thought I'd want to throw this in, Ziad, as well. Question to you, Ziad. Now, I do you find that there are apprentices who do come from a background of anxiety, PTSD, similar like yourself? Is that a common thing in the industry, in the trades work?
Well, look, my first ever apprentice was my neighbor. Now, he came from a religious, strict Muslim family. Now, what happened with him, for instance, he was a troubled child. Good family, but he was a troubled child to the point where he went into jail down the track. But it wasn't his family. For some reason, he was just a troubled kid. He had good mum and dad, but obviously the mum and dad had trauma as well. So they've come from a war torn
Mm,
country. Now, to the point where I had to wake him up to come to work, and he's my next door neighbor. So I said to the father, look, I can't do this anymore. It's not working out. Now, the father turned around and said to me, look, please, he knew he was a troubled kid and he knew he was struggling with his own son. So he was the eldest. Now, the dad was a worker. The dad just didn't know how to deal with his son. Now, the son obviously had issues, right? He had psychological issues. Now, where he got that from, I don't know. Was it genetics? Was it baggage that was passed down from his family? I can't make that call. But what I did see is the father was really trying. He to the point where he said to me, "Please take him. I will pay you to take him." And I said, "Look, I can't do this." So I had to hire another guy. So my second apprentice came from a family that I grew up with. Now he was Australian, so no
mm.
war torn. He was just an Australian kid, but it was a complete different um,
Experience.
experience. Now the parents don't see the other parent cared everything about the son. Now this parent, to the point where he's on his own and he's only 15 years old. So you're old enough to fend for yourself. And it was amazing to see the changes. So at a young age, I was able to see the changes, but what I employed was another me. This kid had ADHD as well and very similar traits that I had. Now, I was very fortunate that I had that psychological counseling so I never knew he had ADHD. I never knew I had ADHD, but I had the tools now to deal with someone similar to me. So, but what I did to him is I fed him lots of work, right? So I was pumping him with work and he was eating it up. I was eating it up. But again, we both masked it, right? We both were drinking. We were both busy, busy, busy. So we never worked on ourselves again. And then you see his patterns and my patterns. But anyway, long story short. But going back to your question was, what was your question? Was it about the apprentices, the difference of apprentices that
Uh,
I'm finding?
I mean, apprentices themselves. Do you believe that some, or there could be maybe many of them on an individual basis that come from a struggling background?
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. So okay, that makes sense. So going back to those two apprentices, for instance,
Mm,
there was a struggle in both sides. So now the reason why they're picking a trade is because, for instance, the first one he had psychological issues.
mhm.
The second one was an ADHD, hyperactive, couldn't his attention was very, very limited, but at the same time he was gifted. Once he knew what he needed to do, I couldn't even keep up. It was unbelievable the gift that this guy had. So those two, for instance, so different, but the trade was perfect for them, right? Because they wouldn't have done well in a corporate industry. They didn't. They needed to be active. They're both smart in so many different ways, but they needed to be active. So the trade is great for these kind of people. Like myself, the trade was great for me. It was a vessel for me to start pushing what my abilities are. So now I don't see ADHD as as a problem. I see it as, okay, this is what you have. This is what spectrum you have. Now let's see how we can add it into our business to make you become the best and for you to give us a financial reward back. So that's how I approach it now, and that's how I approached it as we moved on. But there was, as the apprentices changed. So from then, again, there's no mental health back then with these two kids, for instance. Nothing. There's no discussion. There's nothing like there is today. But now let's fast track 21 years to now. Now we've gone the complete opposite. So we've now had nothing. Where now, if you hire an apprentice, right, the government has now boxed them in disability issues, right? Which I get they've done that, but it's too extreme now. So, for instance, now everyone thinks they've got a disability or they've got an issue, or they basically box themselves into a category, which I don't believe is right, but I believe understanding what they have, but it's not a disability. So, for instance, this entitles me when I hire someone from Nova Employment or anything like that, straight away, as a business minded person, I'm going to get money from the government here. They're going to get rewarded for their disability. So, we're rewarding disability. Now, what I believe the government should do is they should help us mold these two people so they believe they don't have a disability. And this was a real big eye opener in the last couple of years. And my last profession, when I worked for someone else and we employed Nova Employment to see, because I asked the guy from Nova or the lady from Nova, I said to her, so what is wrong with this person? Why is he on a disability? And they said to me, he's highly anxious. And I said, is that it? And they said, yeah. I go, look, I'm a highly anxious person. This is not a disability. We can work with this, but what they've enabled to happen in the future, what's happened now, is this guy believes he has a disability. So how is this guy going to grow and become something remarkable? I'm an anxious ADHD, highly functioning person that has done a lot with his life. But now we've boxed this new generation into a disability disabled. How is this guy going to grow? We've created a category for this guy, and that is not right what is happening. So what I do when I employ these people, or when I've employed them in the past, I say to them, even with my son, I said, you don't have a disability. What you have is this. Now, what tools we're going to give you to deal with this, to make you the best way you can. So what I say to my son is, you have ADHD. So basically, you have a Ferrari brain that has bicycle brakes. All we need to do is upgrade your brakes. Once we upgrade your brakes, you have a full functioning Ferrari that you can go and take on the world and be the best that you can be. So what I found with my apprentices recently was they cannot sit with their mind. And why they can't sit with their mind is a lot of it's to do with social media. Now, when they were with me, and look, I'm on the generation where I'm on the fence of the transition of social media and old school. So I get it. It's very addictive. I get it. Even with my kids. So these kids are going to work. They're trying to do an apprenticeship. But at the same time, they have so many distractions occurring every minute. You hear pings, you hear notifications. When they're bored, when you tell them, can you just wait for me for a second? They don't wait and watch what I'm doing. They go on their phone. So what has happened with the new technology is, yes, it's been fantastic for us, but it's actually created more of a problem in our industry. People believe that they've got issues. People are having issues. People cannot sit with themselves. I had a guy, one of my apprentices, he had 3 days in a car park. This was the first time I ever put him alone in a car park with no reception. Day and a half went in. He said to me, I am struggling with my headspace. I can't get music. I'm not getting any notifications. I'm listening to my voice and I'm struggling with my voice. And that's when I said, wow, these guys have so much to deal with, which I never had before. On top of, if you want to own your own business, the anxiety, the stress levels, day-to-day expenses, it's changed. Now you have to keep up with the Joneses, the Mohammeds, whatever you want to call, because if I said to them, I'm going to buy you a $2,000, $3,000 car to start you off as an apprentice, they go, I'm not driving that. So the shift of their mindset is materialistic. So you can see how it's shifted so dramatically that they can't even be humble enough to say, wow, this guy's giving me a vehicle, for instance. Let's start off and let's prove what I can show. If I went for an interview, the person will say to me, what are you going to be paying me? Which I respect that. But at the same time, I remember when I started my trade, I said to my boss at the time, please let me work for free and let me prove what I can do. There is none of that happening today. And that is a shame, because everyone expects something. The government has made it in a way to expect something. You get a disability pension, or a disability award. You get this, you get that. So now these kids are coming in expecting. That's got to change. That really has to change. And again, my kids, they're expecting. If you tell them you need to work for it, right? My parents taught me work ethics. So I'm so humble and grateful for that. So I
Yeah.
don't know what society is going to be like moving forward, but that's the significant difference. If you see in the past of those two kids to what I've hired recently, there's a massive shift right? And in that shift, because you got social media, when they make good money, they've blown it. There is no savings. They're living week to week. Why? Because they're trying to keep up with their friends. Snapchats. Look at me, I'm on a holiday, blah, blah, blah. That's not normal. They're not living a normal life. So then what happens? They're always disappointed and they're always struggling with themselves. So that needs to be addressed. And I'm hoping that this is what we can address in our podcasts.
So the financial success at a young age can also impact young individuals. That impact their ego and lead to potential addictions as well.
Yes. Yes.
That's what's
100%.
that's what's actually happening. Reason being
100%.
why, yes,
To the point where I really believe that in our apprenticeship, in the first so when I did my apprenticeship, I did basic skills. I really believe that they have to factor in a curriculum in basic skills where they teach them social media, mental health, and how to deal with their finances. So imagine you being 15 years old, right? And starting to earn. Back then, I earned $220. I thought I was loaded when I received my first paycheck. Now they're receiving anywhere between $600 to $1,000 to $1,500 on some job sites. Now, if you've had nothing and then you start receiving that income and no one has taught you how to deal with that income, how to save money, how to put money aside, how, not to gamble, not to vape, not to smoke, buying these drinks, for instance, Mother's V's, high energy guarana drinks. This needs to be educated in their system, in the curriculum, because these kids are struggling to wake up and they're pumping down these mothers high energy drinks, and they're not cheap. They're anywhere between $6 to $10 a pop, and they're pumping 2 to 3 a day. So that's $30 in just drinks alone, plus whatever the food. So we need to talk about food habits. We need to talk about what they're drinking. We need to talk about the vaping. We need to talk about the social media. This has to be introduced in the curriculum of an apprentice, because what leaving that out is wrong. And now what we're doing, we're replacing that. The government's replacing that with saying you have a spectrum, you've got a disability, this is what you're putting under. So we're going to reward you now. I believe that's wrong. I believe that they really should address and give them the tools to understand every time they purchase a drink that's highly caffeined, high with guarana or whatever you want to say, a stimulant, this is going to affect you. So I would love to see that change in our industry.
I totally agree. In your industry, in also maybe in all industries or many industries, or I believe in general life, it needs to be changed. Unfortunately, there is not enough attention to detail when it comes to discussions of anxiety, mental health, especially for struggling men, because struggling men are the ones who often don't speak up. Struggling men are the ones who are often who mask their problems, their issues with exactly all of the above of what we've covered so far. And those in struggling men who don't have any source of mental anxiety, depression, yes, they are being constantly, daily bombarded with the images, with the sounds of what? Of fake news of what? Guarana, energy drinks, fashion, yeah, which becomes instantly becomes a distraction from the real thing, meaning from the real focus, where the focus to attention to detail, where it should be focused on. So you ask many of the youngsters nowadays, what is your 5 year goal? What are your ambitions? What are your passions? It's very interesting when you hear a lot of the answers that come from 18, 19, 20 year olds. And yes, we should be teaching our youngsters, our teenagers from school through education on finances, how to manage finances. Unfortunately, it's not happening. We should be addressing the issues of health, mental health,
Mm.
nutrition, fitness, exercise, because all of these play a crucial role, yeah, for the next generation, for the health, overall well-being of the mind and body. Unfortunately, it's not happening. Uh, so we are
It's not,
work.
sorry, it's not happening, but
Mm,
also too, the government is going the wrong way about it by throwing more money with NDIS, Nova employment, all that kind of stuff. The government is throwing money and hoping it'll fix itself. It's not. In other words, what they can do is the government can create employment by teaching people to teach others how to prepare yourself so you're not disabled, so you're not in a curriculum or a box you've boxed yourself in. That's the path I believe they should be going into, but instead they've
mhm,
just given it to organisation. And let's be honest here, right? NDIS is a great program. The concept is great, but as we've seen, it is absolutely getting rorted. Every system that the government gives out gets rorted, and that's the true fact. And it's happening right now, and it will happen over and over and over again, where they have to approach it differently, where we have to teach them in our school curriculum as well, like you said, that they have to understand how to deal with their finances. They have to understand that you are not disabled. You just have this, and we will teach you how to deal with this so you can
mhm.
become the best that you can become. Now, if we get this person to the best that they become, they go into the workforce quicker, right? They pay taxes quicker. So it's a win situation for the families, for the individual, and for the government, but it's not happening, and I really believe that this needs to shift.
It does. It certainly does. And that's one of the aims and mission and vision of the resilience project which I created, because there are many things that need to be changed and shifted. The voices need to be heard by the people, especially by the government, and this is maybe perhaps one of amongst many things. And as you said, NDIS is an amazing organization that the government has created. Thumbs up to that, because it's helping out many individuals who are disadvantaged. But what I think what Zead is saying here is that there are some individuals who have been labeled as disadvantaged or disabled or under a disability boxed in, when really what they have, what they're living with, it's not a disability. So therefore, it throws them into that box, limiting their abilities, limiting them to pursue their passion, what it is they desire to become the best version of themselves, and taking advantage of the system when really their potential is greater than what they are actually pursuing.
100%. That is
I agree.
absolutely right. And let me tell you something. If you come from another country, right, and I have relatives that have done this, and the government gives them money, why would they work? They will try to work out how to keep getting from the government. But if you give them very minimal, and they have to hustle to live, and that you will see potential from this person that they didn't even know they had. So the easier we make it for them, the more they're going to screw the system, unfortunately. And that is actually
Unfortunately,
what is occurring right now.
unfortunately, it is, and it needs it needs to change. Even though yes, the system can wrong, not all the time wrong, but unfortunately, some areas of the system, it could not be. It's not at where it should be. Let's say it's not at where it should be. Where basically it disadvantages certain people, it gives advantages to other individuals. Uh, some parts of the system could put struggling men in a very disadvantaged place, in a very dark area. Reason being why um, struggling men end up homeless, or leads them to mental struggles, mental illnesses. And this
Yes.
is what we need to address. Yes, we need to address this to the people. Yes, we need to address this. to the government, but at the same time, there is also a level of responsibility on our part, on the part of struggling men. And that responsibility is to take responsibility, is to be accountable for the decisions that we are making today. If we are solely relying on organizations, other individuals to fix
Mm,
our
mm.
problems won't be changed, not unless if we begin to make to endure the decisions that will actually endure effective change moving into the future.
Can I just interrupt Abdul as well? Right.
Sure.
So now, for instance, myself, if I'm not busy, my demons come out, right? So when my demons come out, is I'm not good enough. I haven't worked hard enough. I'm not a good father. I'm not a good husband. These are my little demons that come out because I'm not busy, right? Because I haven't done meditation or worked on myself. And a lot of these struggling men, this is what happens to them. Now, when you throw them not being busy and then you give them money from the government, for instance, right? Now you're giving them funny money. So what do you do with funny money? Because they haven't worked for it. So funny money for them, they go and gamble it. Let's double it. I got $100 from the government. Let's see if I can make it $200. So they go and they start gambling. They start drinking. They start doing drugs because it's funny money. They haven't worked for it. But there are some people that work hard and they still got these problems. Again, that's a whole different topic. But what I'm getting at is when you're not working and you haven't physically made that money, it's easier to throw that money away. So, for instance, if you're a drug dealer or whatever, that funny money, you blow it on stupid things, right? So,
Mhm.
this is another category when you give out money, you're not enticing a human being to be the best that they can be because you're making it easier. But it is great because this money helps people get a house, get food on the table as a kickoff. So to the government, they're doing the right thing, but they have to look into how it should be handed out. Vouchers, for instance, something along those lines. Anyway, but it doesn't help a struggled person, right? And then you can flip it on the other side. You can say that if I was a father and I'm taking money from the government, I might interpret it as I'm useless. Here I am getting handouts. What do you think that's going to do to my mental health and depression? Right? That's going to take me probably down a different avenue as well. So there's a lot of goods and bads, right? And I understand that. But what they need to understand is if we're handing out money, they need to be educated on how to deal with the money from a child or a teenager to an absolute adult, or to a person that's come from overseas, from a war-torn country, that now they're coming from somewhere that there was no money to a government that's saying we'll give you money. How would you feel if I came from another country and now the government is giving me money by doing nothing, by trying to get work? This is fantastic. This is amazing. Now there's two avenues they can go. They can use that to really benefit and set themselves up, which some people do. But the
Mhm.
truth is the majority of the people they learn how to bleed the system even more because then they base themselves around a community that is bleeding the system even more. And then unfortunately, those people that they surround themselves, they've got their trauma, they've got their mental health issues, they've got mental like men's health issues and females, whatever you want to put it. I'm not saying just for men's, but now they base themselves around a community that have issues that they're not dealing with as well. So that path for them becomes a toxic path, and for them to throw them on the straight line is going to be even harder for them. And that's the truth. So, and that's what's happening at the moment as well.
And that's where the factor of responsibility comes in. And you've actually nailed that, by the way. That's I love everything what you've said, and that's where the responsibility part where it comes in. Uh, Many struggling men that they become the victim, and
Yes.
that's not necessarily it's done deliberately. It's because of the pain sometimes, and they cannot be with it, or that they don't know how to deal with it. Yes, so they perhaps they lack guidance, support. Sometimes they're lacking also responsibility. However, it is all about responsibility. So when I speak of struggling men, that there is a responsibility on their part, it means that you need to begin to make the first move. You
Yeah,
need to begin to start making more productive decisions that reflect more further productive outcomes, results into your life. Because yes, you're in pain. Yes, you are struggling. Yes, you're living with demons, mental anxiety. To have an expectation, and this is where the expectation comes in, right? Expectation, reliant. Uh, the thing is this: is that your pain is your pain. Your struggles are only your struggles. No one is gonna feel your pain the way that you feel it. No one's going to feel and experience the struggles as you do on a personal level. It is on you. So the only thing what will actually changes in that matter is you taking that responsibility of change. And the dangers of playing the victim card and to victimize, oneself. I'm like this because of that person. I'm like this because of this person, because of the system, or whatever it might be. And yes,
mm,
it could be very well true, be very true. In a lot of cases, it is actually very, very true. But we need to stop playing the blaming game, the victim game, because the dangers of that, can become the villain. The villain he means is that you will begin eventually to be, to take revenge on the people around you, revenge against the whole world, perhaps. Yeah,
that's right.
you become limited in your views, in your abilities, and once you become the villain in your own little boxed up world,
That's
you're in
right.
a very dangerous, dark place.
That's right.
So if anyone out there is listening and you're beginning to victimize yourself, this has happened to me because of my ex. This has happened to me because of this person and that person. Look, it, it might be very well true, and I don't doubt it. And I've had my personal experience, and I'm sure you have, Zead. And there are people outside of us who do cause pain. Yes, but who
100%.
is but who is going to make the change here? Is it the person who is causing the pain? Is it the organization who has caused the pain, or is it up to the individual himself? Yes, who is experiencing the pain to change pain into purpose, to make it, to turn it, transition it into strength and purpose.
Mm. Mate,
A
well
lot.
said. Well said.
Yes.
To be honest, Abdul, well said. I mean, this is what I'm basically saying is, as an individual, the system is there for right. Use it for the right. Now
Yes.
be responsible for yourself. Look within, understand what your issues are, deal with them, and now grow and reach out for a different type of community. Because if you're in the same community and you're still getting the same habits, the same thing, it means it's time to break the chain and try something different for a different outcome. And once you start doing that, I think you'll start to see that your life will start to change and start to acknowledge that it starts from here, not from them. It's from here within. And those forms, right? I'm doing that right now. I'm taking a different perspective of life. I took I took 8 months off from my trade. I tried a different business. I used this year as a rehab. Now, when I say a rehab for my mind and my body, and now I'm trying to address things in a different way and run my business in a different way, so I can have a work life balance. And it is so foreign to me, and I am freaking out a few times here and there, but I check myself in. I do my meditation. I've finally acknowledged that I can say kind words to myself. I am starting to love myself. And by me loving myself, I am now loving more others. I'm showing more love to my family. I'm showing more love to my career. I'm showing more love to everything that's surrounding me. I'm coming from a different perspective of a positiveness instead of a negativeness, and creating stories. I was a very good storyteller in my headspace, because I was so dark, and now I'm shining light in my head. I am shining love in my head. I am shining positiveness in my head. And that's from the morning to the night. Now, don't get me wrong. I still get these demons creeping in. I still get these negative things creeping in. But what I do is I minimize them. Instead of them sitting in my head for a day, they're only sitting in there for an hour, for half an hour, for 5 minutes, for a minute. They will come in, but the positiveness will out them out of my head, and I move on. And it's working. I'm attracting. There's a laws of attraction that is occurring that I have never ever felt before in my life, because I never had the time to feel this. Where now I'm breathing, I'm reflecting, I'm conscious, I'm actually looking at the leaves, looking at the sky, looking at what is happening, and I'm listening to my mind and body. If I'm anxious, I ask myself, why am I anxious? Is it the client? Is it the job? Is it the weather? Is it what I ate the night before? If I eat a dish that's spicy, that upsets my stomach. Now, when my stomach is upset, I link that to anxiety, because when I was anxious, I had an upset stomach. So now these are triggering traumas that occur in my body. But then I have to now say, no, it was just the spicy food that you had the night before that's triggering your stomach pain, which is now giving you the anxiety feels. And that's all it is. It's an anxiety feel that you've linked in the past that's been traumatic, but now you can start to tell your brain it's okay. And next time I won't have spicy foods. So you prepare yourself for next time, so you don't do that again. But it's as simple as that. But at the same time, it's so hard when you have everyday events occurring, when you have everyday family trauma occurring, when you have everyday work trauma occurring. I get it, but it's a work in progress. As you work on yourself, it gets easier and easier and easier. And then you create a community now that is like-minded. So instead of being in a negative and let's bleed off the system community, now we've created a community where we're like, I'm great. I am a talented person. I am positive. I am a good tradesman. I base myself around positive people, tradesmen, non-alcoholic people, non-drug people, positive, financially stable people. Now I'm stabilizing my life. I am stabilizing my mind. I am stabilizing my wealth. I am stabilizing my clients. So that's the way I'm going. And yes, it's been an absolutely journey, a roller coaster ride, but I'm loving it. And a lot of it's to do with meditation is a massive thing. Gratitude. When you wake up, be grateful for yourself. When you go to bed, be grateful for yourself. The gym, exerting energy is major factors. Limit your caffeine intake. Alcohol, I've really limited my alcohol to only social now events. I don't even drink. I don't even want to drink anymore, where I was drinking at least one or two a night. So all these little factors, by me eliminating and now changing it, I'm on the change train, I call it. So I'm updating my software here. I am improving. My vessel is my vessel, but my software needs to be upgraded. And that's what I'm doing to myself. And a lot of struggling men are afraid to do that, because the first few weeks, it's so foreign for them, they freak out and then they go back to their patterns. So that's why I'm hoping between me and you, we can absolutely create something amazing and let them reach out to us and say, we're here for you guys. And it's absolutely okay to feel these feelings, but it will pass.
I love it. I love it, Ziad. I love it. You know what? I want to ask you before we actually end the podcast. I want to ask you, Ziad, you know, you've made those increment changes into your life, as you just mentioned, step by step. Now you looking back, how much do you find, experience, and feel the difference in yourself between now and back then?
Mate, if I had someone
Yes.
when I was 21, 22, 23, but the thing is, I was on a different, I wanted to take on the world at one stage.
Yep.
I really wanted an empire. So I don't know if you would have put this in my head, But if there was a Zead now telling the younger Zead, slow down, be mindful, work on these things, and it will come to you in a different way, and you'll be richer in so many different ways, financially, with your body, with your mental health, with your relationships, family, friends, the way you look at life. If someone told me that at that age, if the Zead now at 41 told the Zead at 21, and the 21-year-old Zead listened, wow, where would I be? I don't know. But it would have been amazing because I would have never put not never, sorry, disagree. I would have not put myself to the stress levels that I put myself. I was so stressed out at one stage that my body broke out in hives. I've got photos of it, of welts. I did an elimination diet to try to work out, is it to do with my diet? And it wasn't. It just was stress related. You know,
Mm.
I, 12 months ago, I was waking up in bed wet because of stress. The whole bedside of my bed was wet because I was sweating so much. It was my body and my mind telling me something is not right. You need to change. And I had to listen. I never listened before, but this time at 41 years old, I am listening. I'm listening to my anxiety levels. I'm listening to my body. My body is tired. I let it rest. I give it rest. Never did that before. So
Amazing.
it would have been.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. I'm so grateful that you've joined us today on the podcast. Ziad. You've shared some incredible insights and lessons as well, and I hope everyone's listening. I'm sure we're going to see more of you in the future.
I hope.
And I'm sure of
I've
that.
really enjoyed this. I've really, really loved this, to be honest.
Amazing, amazing. Likewise, Ziad. I'm grateful for you to be here with us today. Now, if anyone wants to reach out to you, we can have a link as well. Your social media or any way they can contact you or reach out to you, follow you on the socials?
Yeah, so look, I'm the anxious tradie. If you go to Instagram, you'll see me on
Hmm.
the anxious tradie. Now, look, I'm very new to this, so I'm still
Hmm.
learning it. When I find it's overwhelming, sometimes I listen to my mind and body and I back off a little bit. But I will definitely do my best to reach out to you or to sort of help or guide you in any way. So I'm definitely there, but please respect that at the same time, this is very new to me and there's a lot of changes that are occurring in my life. So I will do my best. And if I can't help you, I will definitely reach out to people that I know that could help and we'll go from there. But I am here for you. That is the point. What I'm trying to create, Abdul, is a community for tradesmen to understand and to understand their body and their mind and be mindful and appreciate their body and their mind and to appreciate their family and where they've come from. So that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm trying to create. And again, thank you for giving me the platform to express what I'm trying to do.
Amazing, amazing, Ziad. I love your work. I love everything with what you're doing, and you're doing amazing, doing great. Thank you very much for joining the podcast on the Resilience Project, and we'll see you hopefully within the soon future for another episode.
So good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.